as many of you know, I've got a new lighting course coming out the next couple of weeks called Color 2.0. And it's been a long time coming of me writing that for numerous reasons, but and I'll kind of go over them in a second. But yeah, this is my brand new course. I'm just going to bring up the video of it here. Some of you have already seen it, so yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, we're just gonna watch this. I'll turn. It's like 4 minutes long or something like that. So I'm just gonna turn this off. Hey guys, Hicks here. If you found your way here, then it's more than likely you've got a passing interest in coloured lighting. And look, I get it. I've been shooting for over 20 years, and most of that has been dedicated to understanding and working with coloured light in one form or another, whether that be with coloured gels or more recently with RGB lighting. I think one of the most enticing things about coloured light is that it's so easy to get into. You just need a couple of lights, some coloured gels, and you can just kind of start playing with it. I think that for many of us though, it quickly becomes apparent that it's a little bit harder than it initially looks. And there are many reasons for this. Washed out colours, colour banding, colours not working together, weird colours when we do mix, what colours do go together, and that's not to mention the colour theory that we should be applying to all of our coloured light shots as well. Throughout all the years of me playing with coloured light, there's one thing that has always been very apparent to me, and that is that there is always somehow something new to learn when it comes to coloured lighting. And look, all this nuance and depth that is within coloured lighting is what's encouraged me to push out so many workshops and educational pieces surrounding coloured light over the years. And they've kind of all culminated in this latest course of mine, in my Color 2.0 course. And look, I've spent many years writing this, mainly because I had to start rewriting it halfway through once I started to play with LED lighting. I think RGB LED lighting has opened up this just entire new world when it comes to coloured light. We now have millions of colours instead of a handful of colours. And I think that with our ability to kind of see the image unfold as we start shooting it has enabled us to perhaps take a few more risks with coloured light and also start playing with some more creative ideas. My new Color 2.0 workshop is definitely my most in-depth workshop to date, and I think that although you don't need to have attended any of my previous courses on coloured light, I think this Color 2.0 course does build upon a lot of the foundational elements that you would have picked up from those. With the introduction of LED RGB lighting, we are able to get extremely creative now and start playing with a lot of colours and also a lot of different types of lights and modifiers. You know, I'll be using tubes as well as mixing long exposure and kind of adding colourful elements in the background that previously wouldn't have been possible with just regular flash in the past. So if you're new to coloured lighting and you just wanted to see what was possible with these new RGB LED lights that we have access to today, then this course is really going to be an in-depth look at that, and as we're going to get very creative with not only LEDs that can flash, but also different shapes and forms of LEDs as well. That said, if you're fairly comfortable with coloured lighting and you wanted to kind of take your experience and knowledge just one step further, then I think this course has also got a lot in there for you, as many of the techniques that I go over can be a little bit more advanced for some, especially when we start mixing ambient light with flash and long exposure in there as well. So I do think this course has something for everybody. Another aspect of this Color 2.0 course that's unique is that it'll be the first of my courses where I discuss both LEDs and flash alongside one another. So in the PDF of notes and setups, I'll be explaining both flash and LED setups for everything that I cover. So this Color 2.0 course has been a long time coming. I've certainly spent a long time writing it and prepping it to get it into a place where I'm really happy with where it's landed. And I think there's a ton of really exciting and new lighting setups in here, no matter what skill level you're at. And I really think that some of the techniques that we'll be covering in this are kind of brand new, totally brand new, and they really open up a lot of creative possibilities that I haven't even played with myself fully yet. So yeah, I'm really excited with sharing this with everybody. And as always, I'm really looking forward to kind of empowering you guys with the knowledge to be able to take the instructions taught here and go away and shoot all these setups yourselves. So I hope this new Color 2.0 course sounds exciting to you. And if you have any questions or queries at all, then don't hesitate to reach out to me either on my site or via my socials. And there's going to be a ton more information about the course on my website as well, so be sure to check that out. And as always, I look forward to seeing some old and new faces at the new Color 2.0 course very soon. See you there. So, I know some of you already seen that before, but I kind of wanted to just bring it up there just to give some context about what I'm going to be talking about now, just in terms of...
How do I climb this bitch?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I can close that. At least he wasn't swearing too aggressively. So yeah, so I think, this is absolutely, like I mentioned in the kind of intro there, or the trailer there, this is absolutely my most in-depth course, and this kind of leads on to what I was chatting about with Sean earlier on. Let's put the camera back on. Talking with Sean earlier on about our skills and our knowledge just keep escalating, right, and evolving, and this is another example of that. And I mentioned in there how long it's taken me to write this, and one of the reasons for that is LEDs. Right, I know you guys have heard me speak a lot about LEDs in the last 12-18 months specifically, but I do think that they are kind of revolutionizing the way that we can capture light and color. And one of the things I kind of want to talk about here today is we'll kind of dig into the PDF of notes here a little bit and have a look at one of the chapters from the PDF that comes with the course. But there's one of the topics I want to kind of look at here today is kind of the differences between flash and LEDs. What do we need to know? Why is it relevant? Is it all pros? Is there is there a mix? Is it one size fits all, or is it going to be different for everybody? Right. So look, if you're interested, check out the course. I think we've got at least 2 spots left. October 25th. I know we've already got somebody coming over from the US, which is cool. We've already got a couple of ladies have already signed up as well, which is fantastic. We were talking about that a minute ago with Creative Live, and and what they were doing earlier on with female photographers and that sort of thing. So it's great to see some ladies signing up. Like I said, we've got somebody flying over from the US. Was going to be somebody from Switzerland, but I'm now doing a one-to-one with them this Saturday for this course as well, so that'd be even better. So that'd be cool. But yeah, we've still got a couple of spots left. I do have a discount code for you guys here. I think it's JHP Live 50. So check that. I did input the code just before I went live, so if that doesn't work, then let me know and I will get you the code. But yeah, so that'll get you 50 quid off for any of you watching here. But yeah, so let's kind of have a chat about LED versus flash then. Let's see what we got here. Vlad, I was going to tell you that. So okay, so I was kind of just playing with it at the time, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go with the Petzval. So that is the Petzval. Which is manual focus, drop-in apertures. So I was really wary of, so I was like, this is what Vlad goes through trying to focus. Yeah, so very kind of difficult to kind of focus with that lens when I'm sat in front of it. But yeah, it was the Petzval. I've no idea what the aperture was. It could have been 2.8 or something like that. But yeah, all that kind of stuff that you see going on around it is not added in post. Yeah, that's all from that lens. I absolutely love that lens. It's a gorgeous lens. It's just a pain in the ass to work with, but yeah, I'm glad you picked up on it though. Look, I'm getting older. Nobody needs to see razor sharp focus of my face in 8K. So I was like, I think that Petzval lens is probably going to do it. Yeah. 50% off, yeah. Let's have a look. Look a bit ginger in that video, Jake. I'll take that. I'll take that, Sin. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm grey, but so I'll certainly take the ginger. Yeah, could have been worse. Yeah, yeah. Just making a sandwich. That's for the trailer. Yeah. This is Sean says I grabbed a full tube set of the Godox TL60s, but haven't had much time to play with them. I mean, like they're great, Sean. They really are. It's just they're really great at one thing, right? So like you kind of need the right gig for it. Yeah, it's gonna be an online workshop as well. Or how does that work? Trevor's, here's a great question. And I think this kind of leads into what we were talking about before with Creative Live. And typically in the past, these do not become online workshops until a fair period of time after they've been in-person workshops, right? And mainly because people typically wanted to come to the in-person ones. But look, geography and location and that sort of thing has always been tricky. So I had a huge number of messages from people asking about the online version. So there is an online version. I've now added it. There is an online version, but it is a one-to-one video call with me where I go through this in a one-to-one setting. So it is a little bit cheaper than the in-person workshop, but for some people who don't want to fly over and that sort of thing, then this is kind of the next best thing. And obviously we'll go through the PDF of notes together, and we'll look at all the raws from the shoots using these setups, so you actually can see what the images are supposed to look like, what we're going for, and that sort of stuff, as well as all the presets and that sort of thing that comes with it. But yes, if you really can't make it in person and you're interested in the one-to-one version, then yeah, then it is there as an option. You're not ginger, Jamie. Are you? You completely bald, as far as I remember. Okay. So yeah. So what do these workshops kind of entail? And what's the kind of the process with these? Because look, a lot of people, maybe don't get to go out to these, as much as we used to. But usual premise: get there at 10 a.m. We kind of have a coffee or whatever. Have a little bit of a chat, meet and greet, and then we kind of dig into the actual theory behind the lighting course that I'm going over. So in this instance, the Color 2.0, and I would kind of go through a lot of the PDF at the start for the first hour, 90 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, depending on questions and that sort of thing. And then we get stuck into the first shoot, maybe do the second shoot before lunch, but otherwise have lunch, which will be full-on buffet lunch. Lunch looks amazing, and then in the afternoon we'll cover the remaining 3-4 lighting setups that we've got planned, right? And I haven't announced this yet, but the model confirmed this morning, we will have Chloe as our model. So Chloe confirmed this morning. So on October 25th, she will be joining us as the model, which is outstanding. Like, she's phenomenal. Phenomenal model. So yeah, very, 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 very fortunate to have her as the model on this first workshop, because workshops aren't for everybody in terms of not all models do workshops. So I'm very grateful that she's decided to be part of this one, because she is great for it, absolutely great for it. And like I said, I've already shot every single one of the setups with her. So yeah, so it'll be good. Yeah, it'll be good. And the setup that we got covered is ranging from this kind of more studio style. We're going to have this long exposure integration with flash and LED. This one is nuts. This one is just got so much potential. I've probably shot this 3 or 4 times. Clients have already asked me for this as well. But yeah, this has so much scope. So really looking forward to sharing this one, and then obviously we'll get stuck into some of the tube shots as well, which a lot of fun. Lot of fun. Yeah. You should probably wrap it up around 5, I should think. Yeah. Or you want to attend, but travel via public transport would be meant going to London and then travelling back out again 2.5 hours one way. Okay, you just got your message. Check, great timing. Nice nudge to join the live. Good to be back. I did send you something cool. Link, not really photography, but 3D Hyperscapes better at doing. I'll have to have a look at those, Steve. Yeah. How could you miss my ginger beard? It was savage, which probably explains why you didn't see the short mohawk. Yeah, nice. Yeah. I took a quick nap. There'll be a video course too, or is it in-person workshop? There's no there is no video. If you wanted to do it online, then it would be via a one-to-one online video call with me. I've already done a couple this week. I've got one next week as well. Yeah. So again, the couple this week have been Americans that can't make it over. I know we've got one American flying over for the workshop, but not everybody has got the time to do that. And I'm doing another online one next week as well. So the option is there, and if you're interested in that, but it will not be a video. Yeah. Okay. So let's have a look then at the PDF. I mentioned the PDF, and let's see what we got here. So, yeah, the PDF, I mean, all my courses come with very, very extensive notes. And it's not just a case of, a few lighting diagrams. It is typically, we can see the kind of the contents of everything that I'll be covering on the course is outlined here in the contents page. But a lot of my lighting courses come with a kind of theory or a premise, right? So famously, my creatively simple lighting workshop had its hierarchy of light theory, which the whole thing was built on, and then subsequently pretty much all my lighting henceforth was then built on that hierarchy of light principle of how you can control and shape and layer different colored light. And this one is no different, really. It's just that the premise of this one is going to be how we understand LED lights and how we kind of control LED lights. What are some of the limitations and what are some of the benefits of that? So let's kind of come down here and let's just jump over, because in the course we'll be covering a lot to do with color and that sort of thing. Quality of light, what that means, what we're looking for, what we want to avoid. Mixed lighting, how to kind of avoid or work with mixed lighting, so we can cover over all of that as well. But the chapter I wanted to cover live on stream today is going to be flash versus LED. Just having a little bit of a chat about what that means and what we can kind of use to our advantage. What knowledge can we gain from that? And look, most of you here are pretty experienced, and most of you know the difference, but obviously flash is like an instantaneous burst of light, and then LED is going to be more of that continuous light, right? And there is obvious pros and cons with both of those instantly, but yeah, and let's kind of talk about some of the obvious pros and cons here, or characteristics of each. So the flash is going to be instant. Yeah, it's just a single burst. We've got the one fixed Kelvin. We've got huge, very, very bright, right? I know many of us are just used to flash, but when you compare it to kind of any other light source, flash is extremely bright. Yeah, you can only really use it for stills, only available as a white light, so it doesn't have any RGB values or anything like that. It's just going to be that one fixed white light. Limited kind of exposure and color variances. This is really only relevant for people shooting still life and focus stacking and bracketing and all that sort of stuff. You need to spend a lot of money on high quality flashes to get very minimal exposure and color variances between each flash firing, right? Model friendly exposure. So I've heard that some people struggle to sit in front of LED lights for long periods of time.
So I suppose there's that to consider as well. Extremely versatile for lighting modifiers. This is kind of a big one, right? As we know, flash or like the S-Fit here, whatever flash you've got, I mean, Godox is S-Fit as well, but you can, thousands of different modifiers, soft boxes, strip boxes, beauty dishes, umbrellas, you name it, grids, spots, whatever you want, right? You can adapt this single point of light. Flashes suffer from localized hotspotting. So one of the downsides of flashes is all the power is coming from this single spot here, right? So it's all coming from a very small area. And you do need a certain amount of knowledge and skill to use flash. So coming on counter to that, then we have the LEDs, which is continuous, and that has a lot of benefits, especially when it comes to shooting film and video, right? One of the big things is adjustable Kelvin values. So this is more of a plus than I kind of realized, and I end up using like Kelvin values or changing the Kelvin values a lot, like a huge amount. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Let me just see if I can grab the. So like I did a shoot recently. So this is like recent, right? Of this, and this is all shot with LEDs. Now, with a shot like this is kind of this warmer sunset shot and that sort of stuff. Like the Kelvin on the LED key light here, was super warm, right? I managed to warm it up a lot so that it's kind of in keeping with the style of the shot, right? Counter that to this shot, completely different, right? So I've cooled the Kelvin down on this LED almost all the way, right? So it's very, very cold Kelvin on the key light here to kind of match the vibe of the final image here, right? And all of these shots had, this was probably more neutralized, about 5,500, something like that. Here we're looking at about something like 8,000, and down here we're definitely in the 3,500, yeah. And warmed up here a lot as well, yeah. So like these Kelvin ranges in LEDs is something that should not be overlooked, because it's something that I use way more than I thought I did, because I didn't have the option before with flash. Sure, you got your Kelvin gels and that sort of stuff, but having the ability to just instantly tweak, you don't even need to go, crank the lever one way or the other. You can really tweak the Kelvin in these to match the scene, and I do it way more than I thought I would with LEDs. Yeah. Only instructor grade 7 years. I mean, I try, Sam. Yeah. I mean, I think you do it long enough, you end up doing your own thing anyway, whether you like it or not. But yeah. You learn your lesson, and when videos, some members compare it to true. It's a good point. Yeah. It's going to take off the team record. If I see you at the back with your phone out, Sam, that's it. Yeah. Do a workshop in the US. I know. Yeah. A couple of people did reach out about hosting me over there. So maybe it's something that we can do in the future. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's. I mean, I've done them in the past. There's a few changes going on with the politics at the moment that is kind of making it a pain, but it's definitely possible. Yeah. LED fatigue is something I talk about and inform my shoots, which I think is fairly relative. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm trying to be respectful here, but models who used to have to model under tungsten lights had reason to complain. Models who are modeling under LED lights, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of less sympathetic with. Yeah, if I'm being honest. Yeah, but you're right, it is a thing. Yeah, it is a thing. Yeah, LED are cooler than traditional constant lights too. Yeah, massively so. Yeah, people who stood in front of them for a long time. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Vlad's just talking about the don't trust the Kelvin thing. Yeah, I'm not interested in the Kelvin numbers. I'm just and that's the other benefit of LEDs, right? I can see what I'm doing here. So I'm not going, ooh, I need to make sure that that's 3,400 Kelvin on that light. I'm doing it by eye. Yeah. So I'm standing in the water, turning it until it looks good to me. And again, something that's far harder to do with flash, because you've got a modeling bulb that isn't matching the exact color and that sort of thing. So to Vlad's point there, I'm always doing it by eye. Yeah. So Kelvin is a big one for me. Yeah. So brightness can struggle in certain situations. This is the killer, right? This is the one that is going to put anybody who's questioning LEDs off. Is going to be the brightness. How bright can we get LEDs? And that's really going to depend on where you're going to be using them. You can easily use LEDs for both stills and video. More and more professional photographers now are having to shoot stills alongside video, right? I have still managed to fight that off. Granted, I'm in a fortunate position with my photographic style, being what it is. But many other photographers are having to shoot both stills and video simultaneously, and like LEDs is just a no-brainer for that, right? Millions of colored light options. I don't need to explain this, but yeah, millions of colors at your fingertips, as opposed to like the packs of gels that I have here that Jamie kindly purchased with his own hard-earned money. What have we got, like 12, 20 different colors, as opposed to like millions of colors. Very stable exposure and color. So this was talking about the kind of the variances when people are focus stacking or exposure stacking, that sort of stuff, whether shooting still life, when every time the flash fires, you can get, for obvious reasons, deviation in the brightness. LEDs doesn't suffer from that, so it's great if you're shooting still life. You can just do all the focus stacking you want, and from the tests that I've done, almost zero fluctuation in terms of brightness and color. Models can struggle under constant bright light. It's a thing. Panel LEDs have almost no modifiers. This is another big one, right? And this panel LED here, this is a panel in my mind. Anything that's not like a single point of light is pretty much a panel. Anything, this kind of 10, 12 inches size is going to be a panel. I know you can get smaller LEDs, debatable, but yeah, anything that's of this size is acting like a panel. Which is beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous quality of light from this. I use this exclusively as my key light, and I have done ever since I got them. The downside of that is that it's almost impossible to modify. You have a beautiful light, but it's good at one thing, right? I can't turn that into a spotlight or a grid or a slice of light. It's good at one thing. It's very good at it, but it is only good at that one thing. Panel LEDs create beautiful even lighting. Just spoken about that. Gorgeous light. Anyone can use an LED light, and this speaks to, you see what you see is what you get, right? I spoke about me standing in the water, adjusting the Kelvin, right? I mean, it doesn't take much skill to do that. I'm looking at the model, going, oh yeah, that's warm enough. Boom, we're good. That's what I mean. It doesn't really take any skill to do that. So let's kind of talk about some of these characteristics in real life situation, right? When you're actually working day to day, and this will change for each of you. But for me, working in studios and that sort of thing, these are some of the kind of outlines that I'm going to give here. So flash is instant, so that's great. It's super fast. I'm not really trying to capture anything moving very, very quickly. So although flash being instant is a huge plus, it doesn't really factor into my day-to-day work. Flash has extra brightness, right? So it's very, very bright. Again, I work in a studio, so I have control of the room that I'm in. It's a dark room. I'm not having to overpower other lights, so it's less of a factor for me. Flash can be easier on the models. Most professional models can cope with both. In my opinion, yes. Most professional models are absolutely fine to be stood in front of flash and LED. Flash requires a bit more knowledge. I think it does, right? I think it does, because you need to know what it's going to look like when the flash actually fires versus what the modeling bulb is showing you and all that sort of thing. And it can take a little bit longer. Yeah. But again, most experienced shooters will know how to use both flash and LED. Yeah. LEDs are great for video. I don't shoot video, so sadly that's not really a plus for me. LED color and brightness being very stable. Again, I don't shoot still life or focus stack or anything like that. Very useful for those who need it, but not relevant for me. LEDs Kelvin value, huge. Like, yeah, I never knew how much I needed this feature until I had it, and I adjust the Kelvin on every single shoot now without fail. Yeah. Whereas before I would just have, your flash is at 5,500K and you don't, you just work with it, right? But yeah, adjustable Kelvin is huge. Millions of colors, again, right? A huge plus. And these millions of colors is, remember, it's not just max saturation. If I need a little bit of a dusty pink here in the background, I can knock it down to like 25% saturation and that sort of thing. So the adjustability and control of LED colors is massive. Yeah. LED panel light quality. So using LED panels on almost all the images that you've seen of mine in the last 12 months have come from this like 12-inch EOS here. Absolutely beautiful light on the face. Yeah. Flashes have thousands of options in terms of modifiers. That is a big one. That is a pain. But you can get single point cob LEDs, which kind of work around that issue. Just going to check questions before we carry on. I know you are, but everyone doesn't have trained eyes like you, Jack. That's fair, Vlad. Yeah, so what Vlad's saying there is that, when people are learning, you learn by kind of understanding the boundaries and the characteristics of your lights. So yeah, Vlad's right. Most people, as they're kind of playing with the lights, they're going to go, okay, my camera is set to 5,000 Kelvin. I need to set my light to 5,000 Kelvin. What Vlad's saying there is that it is useful to kind of be wary that if you just blindly set your light to 5,000 Kelvin, is that some of these lights will have some fluctuation. I will say on the expensive lights that I haven't seen it seen a huge drift, but yeah, Vlad is certainly right to keep an eye on it. Yeah. Almost blinded the model first time I used my EOS Pro 2 lights. And yeah, like, continuous is bright, Sin, you're right. Especially when you're likely setting the lights up in a dimly lit room to begin with, right? And that can kind of add to it. When you're in a dimly lit room and then you turn on the LEDs, it's like, oof, Jesus, yeah. Cranked up the power to 100% initially. Yeah, I think if you're in a controlled space, you don't necessarily need it unless you want to shoot, F8, F11, something like that, then yeah, sure, yeah. Isn't flash brightness only a concern when you're fighting the sun, though? It is. I think that it does get more complicated, Steve, once you start working in, like, you can be indoors, and like if the sun moves around and you have like a shaft of light coming in. I've got a hair shoot coming up at the end of the month, and I'm going to have a video call with the director Thursday, and I really want to be, I want to know exactly what that room is like, where the windows are, what time we're going to be shooting, like are we going to get direct sun? If I was shooting flash, I wouldn't be worried about that, right? So if you're shooting just purely LEDs and you're shooting on location, which I'm going to be shooting at the salon, then so it's something else that I got to worry about. And even though I'm going to talk to him and that sort of stuff, I'm still going to probably take, a couple of big sheets of black velvet with me just in case, right? Because that direct sunlight is strong. If it cuts in, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, the same could be said for flash, really. If direct sunlight cuts in and it's hitting the skin, even flash is going to struggle, yeah. Rhodolite to their customers up the hoop by discounting their modifiers or discontinuing their modifiers. Is that right, Sin? I didn't realise that. Yeah, I didn't realise that. Okay. Yeah, I don't really have any of their modifiers. I just use them for that one thing. But yeah. Okay, that's interesting. I'll have a look at that, Sin, yeah. Personally, think the modifiers defeat the point of roguelike design, but I guess the choice of having modifiers is good. Yeah, it's like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but as far as I'm aware, the modifiers was just the softboxes, right? So it was kind of weird. It's like going from soft light to soft light. So because it's soft anyway, and then you can just throw up a scrim or something like that in front. But yeah, if I'm using those AOSs, I'm just using them in real nice and close and beautiful light. Yeah. So coming around, Steve mentioned the point about sunlight and that sort of stuff here, and power and that sort of thing. There is a bit of confusion with power, because many of us will kind of use the watt value as their kind of benchmark, right? As their kind of their, okay, I've got a 400 watt strobe. What if I buy a 400 watt LED? It'll be the same power. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, sadly. You still be falling considerably short. So here I've just given a couple of test examples of kind of these lights, these watt lights at max power, and then the kind of values in terms of our language, i.e. F numbers and shutter speeds and that sort of thing, to give you an idea. So this top bar here is just really showing you that all of these lights are kind of measured at the same exposure on the forehead here. That's where I'm metering them, right? So we got max power 400 watt flash, ISO 100, shutter speed 125th, f45, right? This is again, you're able to you're getting these crazy bright values mainly because it's close, right? It's not 20 feet away or out in the car park shooting in through the window, like you're bringing in these strobes close. This is how bright a 400 watt strobe is in our language, right? So transfer that to kind of a panel, 120 watt panel here, ISO 100, shutter speed 125th, f8, right? So huge difference. Now granted, you can go, well, 120 watts, the difference, stops and that sort of thing. So let's go. F8 is what? F11, F16, F22, what is it, F32 or something, and then F45 or something like that. So like five stops. So somewhere around that. I'm a bit hazy on my F numbers above 22, but yeah, somewhere around the realms of like 4 or 5 stops at least, right? And we've got a single point LED here, which is like a cob light. So single point, as in it's just a bright LED in a small space. 150 watts, ISO 100, shutter speed 120, 5.6, right? So here 150 watts, brighter than this 120 watts, yet it's giving us less, right? There is so many different things going on with LEDs. So this is why it's really difficult and really confusing for everybody to kind of get a handle on it. One final point I want to note on this is look at the exposure of the background here on the flash, right? It's the same thing here on the cob LED as well. And then look at the brightness of the background here on this panel, right? Remember, the foreheads are exactly the same exposure as we can see here. The foreheads are exactly the same exposure, but look at how much more quickly the panel drops off in power. And this again, this is the inverse square law thing that is just completely out of the window when it comes to LED panels, because we can see quite clearly that light is dropping off at a different rate, a different value from a panel compared to a single point light, right? You see how much darker the background is here, and that's because that light is dropping off far faster than it is from a single point. And that's because LEDs use this kind of large array of lights, so it's creating this mini wall of light. It has power in numbers, as opposed to a flash or cob light that is just doing it all from a centralized point. And this is why light falls off in different values. So I gotta be honest with you, like as a lighting nerd like me, I'm fascinated by this. Like this is the inverse square law just is completely redundant at this stage and is really kind of messing with it, right? And it like the inverse square law still applies. It's not a lie. It's just that we're not talking about a single point of light, right? The inverse square law only applies to a single point of light, which this isn't. So this is, like, for me, has been a fascinating learning process of the way that light falls off over distance on set now is all very, very, very different. And you can use this knowledge to your advantage, especially in a small set. So like if you're working in a small studio or home studio and that sort of thing, this knowledge of panels and the light that they produce falling off far faster is very useful to you. You can really do some very clever things with LED panels that are simply not really possible with single points of light that spread light everywhere instantaneously. So the point here being is that like flashes is very powerful when you compare it to LEDs, and it's not just a case of buying a 400 watt LED to match your 400 watt strobe and you're good to go. It's not quite as simple as that. So light duration here, we already know flash is an instant burst and LED is continuous. So again, we need to kind of keep this in mind as well. Like flash will keep this spinning fan very, very, crisp, even though 125th of a second, the shot is actually being captured at 4,000ths of a second, right? That's what we are capturing, because the flash is going off whilst this shutter is open, right? So the shutter is open for this amount of time, and the flash is happening within that shutter speed period, which is this. It's happening in there, so very, very quick, right? So this is able to capture almost anything. So any movement you have is going to be crisp. When we get into LEDs, not going to be the same, right? Because now we can have exactly the same shutter speed, right? Exactly the same camera values, ISO 100, 125th of a second, f11, exactly the same, but now the result is completely different, right? And that's because this LED is on. You've got your 125th of a second gap here, and then the LED comes in and it's filling that whole 125th of a second gap. So this is how we can create this kind of little bit of movement here, and this is something you need to be mindful of. I'm actually all for it. Like I've done shoots recently where I've really kind of leaned into it and absolutely love it. Let's have a look back here. There's loads of examples really, but here we can see tons of movement here, right? This was shot like an 1/8 of a second or something like that. Got any others here? Again, just far more kind of organic. This is obviously a lot of movement here. A lot of movement here in the hair. Face is pretty crisp, right? So the hair is being moved by the fan, but the hair has got a lot of energy in it. Okay, and that's only possible with LED. If you were to shoot flash and you would shoot at the same shutter speed, the hair is going to be crisp, right? So it can be a downside, long exposures, ambient light can be a downside. But for me, I'm kind of embracing it, and I'm kind of loving this more organic look that you can get with LEDs. But again, your mileage will vary, right? I love my rotor lights, but if I'd known, I would have to wait for the non-light 500C that Jake uses, because then I can use my Bowens modifiers. I mean, I would look. I mean, I'm going to kind of get onto this in a minute, Jamie. I just think you need both. I really do. I know that your wallet doesn't want to hear that, but I do think that strobes are really like the jack of all trades, and LEDs are like the kind of masters of a very specific look. And look, I wouldn't trade my rotor lights and that beautiful light quality I get from that panel for anything. But do I hate the fact that I have a light that I can't modify? For sure, yeah. So I do think that it is kind of necessary, sadly, to own both if you've got the budget for it. But having an S-Fit is huge. Yeah. Sam said it's okay, Jake. You're okay. Oily skin now here in the USA. You won't get grilled like before. That's true, man. It was, yeah, that's right. It was that was a thing years ago with the there was. I won't mention any names, but there was a very well-known lighting company that was like, you can't have oily skin, and B&H, the major store over there as well, where we can't have images of collarbones, right? I think it's religious reasons. So the US years ago was very prudish when it came to a lot of stuff that I was doing, like oily skin, like collarbones. This is a big no-nos. It's just like, okay, I guess. Yeah. So glad to see that you guys have kind of opened up a little bit. Yeah, now that's a much better option. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's not like they're just not going to give you that key light look. If you must get rid of your rhodolites, at least keep one of the AOSes for that key light. But yeah. But 100%, the nan lights are going to give you way more options. If you can only afford one light, yeah, then the nan light is going to give you way more options for sure. So just kind of a visual representation of what we're talking about with the Kelvin range here. The flash typically around 5,500 Kelvin, right? Typically around here, and the LED range, depending on your LED, and how much they're lying in the stats and that sort of stuff. But for the high-end LEDs will typically give you from around 3,000 up to kind of 9,000, something like that. Some a little bit less, some a little bit more. Profoto bringing out their new LEDs, which is triple white LEDs, which means that they'll be able to go from like down here, like all the way up to like 15,000, or I think maybe even beyond, because they're using 3 white LEDs, one at each of the Kelvin ranges. So yeah, the Kelvin range on LEDs is massive, absolutely huge. So yeah, certainly for me, a no-brainer as well. Color choices, it's weird, right? But just having flash, having this one single white color, if we want to call it that, and obviously shadow, so light and shadow, but really just this one color. And then color gels. Look, I'm very grateful for color gels. I built my career on color gels and did fine with it. But yeah, having the LED colors and millions of colors is very exciting for somebody like me who is kind of tweaking by eye, right? The downside of millions of colors is that it can be a little bit daunting, right? Vlad kind of mentioned it earlier on that it's all very well for you, Jake. You've been doing it a long time. What you're looking for, and he's right. I do know what I'm looking for, but for those people who are like, I don't know what colors go well together. Does this look good? I'm not sure. Like, do I need to be at 100% saturation the whole time? Is it okay to go at 50%? So yeah, having 16 million options can be paralyzing almost. So, but I think that the creative control that offers me is nuts. Yeah, absolutely nuts. This next section here talks about quality of light, and I've kind of already alluded to this, but I do want to just kind of go over it again here. But this is a visual representation of a strobe here, and as we know, all of that brightness, all that light is coming from that centralized point, and it emanates out in this kind of cone, and that's where we get this kind of spread of light like this. And this is where hotspots come from, right? This is where, like, anybody who spent any time in this stream will know that hotspots are the bane of my life, and hotspots are really the point at which the light is closest to the model, and it's just the path of least resistance, right? So if we were to have our model standing here, right, it's going to be brighter here. It's going to be brighter here than it is here, right? Because of the because this is right here, and light's got to travel further to get up there, and that sort of thing. Now, the same thing happens with headshots as well, and you can kind of notice it a little bit on headshots. If you just have your headshot in here, right, same thing's going to happen, is that light falls off down the body. It's going to be brightest right here on the nose and that sort of stuff. Granted, this is diminished the further you bring that away, but the counter to that is something like this panel, right? So if we have our headshot in here, right, this is coming out in a very uniform manner because we have a lot of little lights, as you can see here, right? We've just spoken about all these little lights. These panels, create this power through numbers, right? And what you end up with, when talking about quality of light, or what does Jake mean? Like, what does that mean? What does quality of light mean? It's just this kind of ethereal phrase that people use. They don't really know what it really means to they know when they see it, but why is it happening? This is one of the reasons why this is such a great key light, is because it's so beautifully even spread of light. And that's why it looks so beautiful on the skin, is because we have the same exposure coming from everywhere over an even plane, right? Now, this effect is reduced the further you bring this away, but I use this as a key light, like arms reach away, which at that distance, it's still pretty big, and as a result, you get beautiful light on the face. So when I'm talking about quality of light and that sort of thing, and hotspots, that's kind of what I'm referring to, and that's why I swear by these panels. Yeah. So modifiers, like you guys in chat have already raised these concerns, and rightly so, in that you're like, look, it's all well having the panel, but I can't modify it and that sort of thing. It's kind of limiting, and it is. Yeah. Like strobes. I mean, I use strobes for nearly 20 years, I would say, and I have hundreds of modifiers here, and they can all work on the same light. I mean, that's huge, right? In terms of a modular system, that's phenomenal. You can just buy granted I have a lot of lights now, but I had four strobes when I left art college. I went out and bought four strobes, sunk the money into 4 strobes, and I used those 4 strobes exclusively for like a decade practically, right? Because that's it, you're done. You can then modify it to your heart's content. There are some caveats to that, like LEDs, like I said, do have S-fit LEDs. So like this one here, this is the Godox one here, the SZ150R, Godox naming, and yeah, like you can then use any of these S-fit modifiers on that. And like guys in chat were saying about the nan lights. The nan light is a beautiful light, just phenomenal quality, really well made, and same thing, right? S-fit attachment. So yeah, you can do what you want with it. The benefit of the LEDs, like I've said, is that they are very, very good at one thing. Hence the panel, the tube here, very, very good at one thing, right? Phenomenal at this one thing. You can't modify that in any way at all. It's great at that one job. Yeah. So swings and roundabouts on that. For me, the sweet spot is going to be basically the panels and the S-fit, if you can afford it. If not, then the S-fit is going to give you more flexibility long term. So to kind of wrap up here, even though we've kind of been doing that as we've been going on this section here, so flash versus LED, which is kind of best, right? So the flash has that power. If you need that power, if you're somebody that, like Jake, I spend most of my time out on location, doing stuff outside, maybe I'm inside, maybe I don't have control of the windows, maybe there's huge skylights above me and that sort of thing, it's flash is still going to be the way to go, right? It is flash is still going to be what you need. It's just going to be less stress, right? I'm having this video call with this client on Thursday because I'm worried about the LEDs on the day. I could just turn up with flash. Actually thinking about it now, they want long exposure, so I would have to have this conversation anyway. But the point still stands in that I'm having this conversation because I'm using LEDs. Can I block out the windows? How high are they? Right? You just don't need that extra hassle. Modifiable. If you just want one light to throw in your bag and then a bunch of kind of pop-up modifiers, like a couple of pop-up softboxes and that sort of stuff, S-fit strobe is going to be a winner. That being said, you can get S-fit LEDs now. So again, it's going to come back down to brightness. So freezing the motion. So even if you manage to counteract the brightness that you have, that you want, let's say you're working in a studio and you're like, Jake, I'm happy with the brightness I have, there is still going to be more motion in those shots than if you're using flash, right? You're like, Jake, well, you shoot 125th of a second, I'll probably shoot at 250th of a second. That should, it should be all right. Flash is 4,000th of a second, right? You would really need to be cranking that camera shutter to be getting anywhere near where you were with flash, and that LED would need to be unbearably bright, I would, I know I've been kind of hard on models with their attitude towards LEDs, but yeah, if you're shooting at 4,000ths of a second, anybody would complain about the brightness of the LED required. So for the LEDs, you've got ease of use, right? You just put it on the stand, adjust the power. It looks kind of good. Do I like the color? No. Tweak it. Okay, yeah, I like that color. You don't, it's not rocket science, right? Anybody can do that, especially with you guys with your fancy EVFs and that sort of stuff. You guys got no excuse. Just put it out there. LEDs are very easy to use. Millions of colors, obviously, it's a huge plus for me. Kelvin range, again, huge plus for me. Beautiful light, so they specialize in these kind of, very defined look, whether it be the panel giving you this beautiful beauty light, or the tubes giving you a very distinctive look as well. So yeah, they can be beautiful lights. Videos and stills. Do you shoot much video? If you do, again, no brainer. So look, this is not going to be one size fits all. I think it's going to be different for everybody, but if you're somebody like me that spends most of the time shooting in a studio or a controlled environment at the very least, stuff that's not moving very quickly, like models are fairly stationary. LEDs are gonna, those are really like the downsides of LEDs, and you're prepared to buy panels and SFITs, then yeah, like the pros of LEDs far outweigh the cons for me. And like I mentioned here, like this is the best of both, right? If you got the budget for it, having a panel for your key light and then some SFITs as well, job done. Yeah. And then we just go on to the lighting setups that I'm covering on the workshop. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. Again, if you're just tuning in and was interested about the new Color 2.0 course workshop, then by all means, more details over there. The code, I think, for £50 off was like 50. So that'll give you for you guys watching the stream now. Okay. So if you're interested, check it out. I think it's going to be good. Like I said, I think we've got two spots left now. So yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to get stuck into this one as well.